because I was the biggest. So me and Gary got it on, you know what I'm saying? It was good sparring. You know, and that day, yes, I might have got on Gary. You know what I'm saying? But he good work all the time though. But we was good fighters, man. I'm sharp. That motherfucking name is too sharp. I was sharp than a motherfucker. That's Gary, my boy, and Terence Crawford, my boy. So Terence get in the ring sparring with Dynamite. Terence fight 132. Dynamite fight 141. Man, Dynamite one of the sharpest amateurs I've ever seen though. So Dynamite, you know, he sharp that day. He getting out on Terence, you know what I'm saying? So they still had good work though. He got out on Terence, but they still had great work. So they get out the ring, and then, you know, Terence a little, you know, he a little frustrated after the spar, you know what I'm saying? So they got a little, him and Dynamite was talking noise all through the spar. So when Terence got out, he was mad already. He was talking shit still. And then Gary said something to Terence. And then Terence was like, nigga, what you talking about? Nigga, Mark just beat your ass. So then they get to arguing and shit. They face to face, they get to arguing. Gary took off on Terence and hit him with a right hook. Terence ate the bitch. You feel me? He ain't dropped Terence or nothing. And
there you go, people. There you go, people. Counterpunch. This is Mark Davis telling his story on what happened the day Gary Russell Jr. hit Terence Bud Crawford after they got into a verbal altercation, okay? After Terence Crawford was in the ring with another fighter, you know, nicknamed Dynamite. Dynamite was getting the best of Terence Crawford. Gary Russell Jr. and Terence Crawford started an altercation after they finished their sparring session, which the sparring session got intense. Now, when Gary Russell hit him, just like Terence Crawford said, okay, you remember we recapped on what Terence Crawford said and how he responded. And what he's saying, that he got hit with a right hook. This guy's going in more detail, Mark Davis. He's going in more detail to what happened. Hit him with a right hook. He ate it, okay? And let's continue.
And they couldn't fight because right after Gary took off on them, the coaches and everybody grabbed Terence and grabbed Gary. You know what I'm saying? But long story short, man, Gary Russell, you better not get your motherfucking ass in the ring with Terence. He gonna damn have kill your motherfucking ass.
So, okay, that also shows that he didn't go. I don't know if he went to the hospital, but his jaw was not broken. His jaw was not broken. He didn't drop Terence Crawford. He didn't hurt Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford said he wasn't hurt by Gary Russell Jr. He said he ate the punch. Mark Davis said he ate the punch. And nothing else transpired because nothing else had the opportunity to transpire. Okay? So it wasn't like Gary Russell hit this guy, Terence Crawford, hit TC, and he dropped him and that was it. You know, that wasn't the case because that's how I understood reading what I read from Gary Russell. Okay? It was one hit and I finished it. He had no chance because he didn't have an opportunity because I already did what I did to finish this whole deal. It wasn't a altercation. It was me acting, and there was no reaction from Terence Crawford, but there was a reaction from Terence Crawford. In fact, Terence Crawford then, if you add more to what Terence said, he was like, I'm going to kill you, and then they sent him home. Okay? They kept Gary Russell, but they sent him home. Now, we can look at that a whole different way. But another point I want to make about this particular story by Mark Davis is, if you think about the sparring session between Dynamite and TC, Terence Crawford, we already know who initiated this altercation altogether, and that was Gary Russell. See, Gary Russell said something to Terence Crawford, which he didn't have to say at all. You know, because Terence Crawford's, his initial confrontation, so to speak, was with Dynamite, which was a lot bigger than all of those guys. Okay, so Gary Russell took it upon himself to, hey, you know, you got whooped, you know, by Dynamite or whatever. And then, of course, Terence Crawford countered with, hey, yeah, you did too, with Mark Davis, though. Okay, so they, you know, I think what it was, they didn't like it. He was already in an altercation and basically a fight in the ring. Okay, it's like that Mayweather doghouse shit. I'm gonna do a video on that because I got a lot to counterpunch about those particular bouts of doghouse or whatever. But that's basically what it was. It got too heated for those guys to really box and spar cordially. Okay. Now, one thing I do like about this interview, Mark Davis is friends with Gary Russell Jr. and Terence Crawford. This is nobody like Errol Spence or, you know what I mean, somebody that doesn't really like Terence Crawford or someone has beef with Terence Crawford. No, Mark Davis was there. He was a witness to what went on. So we know who was lying. Gary Russell was lying. According to what I read, that looks like a lie to me. Okay? Now, I know words can be twisted around and this, that, and the other, but I think Gary Russell, honestly, I think he exaggerated what he did to Terence Crawford. Okay? And Mark Davis is confirming it. And Mark Davis's story sounds a lot like Terence Crawford's story, if you guys know what I mean. So this pretty much seals the deal on what happened in 2008. Okay? And I don't know if there is any deep-rooted animosity that Gary Russell had towards Terence Crawford, because whatever reason he had to be thinking something to be saying, ha ha, you got beat by this guy. Maybe he was just messing around. Then again, maybe he wasn't. But anyway, that's me counterpunching this, guys. You guys tell me what you think about Mark Davis telling the truth about what went on with Gary Russell Jr. and Terence Bud Crawford. You guys tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.